Hello, welcome to another presentation on the DevOps Handbook. This is CIT 262. We are Group 7, and we will be going over Chapter 9 for this week. We are Alexandra Lozano, Brittany Herrera, and Eddie Pincay. And Chapter 9 is create the foundations of our deployment pipeline. All right. So in order to create fast and reliable flow from development to operations, we need to ensure that we always use production-like environments at every stage of the value stream. In DevOps, we hear that theme throughout, is that we need to make sure everything is implemented at every stage of the value stream. And an example mentioned in this chapter, Campbell Priddy is a large Australian telecommunications company. They were responsible for a $200 million program in 2009. They started using the waterfall technique and found that all their teams were behind on their schedule. Then they implemented Agile into their processes. They showed a little bit of improvement, but they still showed lack of business engagements. So they made a build team and wanted so that they could build quality into their processes. The team quickly showed 50% of their source code was running behind, so they were able to focus there. And the time it took to have a correct environment went from 8 weeks to 1 day. So in this example, they were very quickly able to see the effects of using DevOps and having this type of build environment. So enabling an on-demand creation of development, test, and production, you should have developers run production-like environments on their own workstations, run and test their code in production-like environments on a daily basis, and get constant feedback on the quality of their work. How do they do that? Well, they create a build method. It's basically like a virtual environment maybe, used with certain types of tools that helps developers build and test their product before going into production. Another thing that they have, and like maybe usually one part of a company or one stage of the production process, is they have version control. So it's a system that records changes to files or sets of files. But with DevOps, they want to make sure that all parts of the production is in one repository. By providing the developers an environment that they fully control, they're enabling, the company enables them to quickly reproduce and diagnose and fix the defects and safely isolate issues from production. So it's really important that everything's in one single repository. All right, so they need to check for version control. All right, here's some things they need to make sure is in this. Application code and dependencies, which are libraries and static content, scripts used to create the database schemas, environment creation tools, files used to create containers, supporting automated test and manual test scripts, any script that supports code packaging or database migrations, etc., all project artifacts, all cloud configuration files, and any script or configuration information required to create the infrastructure that supports multiple services. So sometimes this might be in different areas of the development, but in this case, in DevOps, they want to make sure there's one single repository and check for all these things. So here's an example going forward. Puppets Lab in 2014. Their DevOps report showed that when they used the version control, that it was the highest predictor of both IT performance and organizational performance. And so it was really showed to them how effective this is and important to have this type of environment and to have this one single repository. And is a good example for everyone. All right, so making the infrastructure easier to rebuild and repair. When we quickly rebuild and recreate our applications and the environments on demand, we can we can rebuild them instead of repairing them when things go wrong. To ensure the consistency of the environment, whenever we make production changes, those changes need to be replicated everywhere in our production and pre-production environments, as well as any newly created environments. Those are the things that really affect the success of our program. All right, so making sure that everything is, all changes are shown everywhere. We can rely on automated configuration systems for this, or we can create new virtual machines or containers from automated build mechanisms. But we can't just write down our change now. We need to basically, the only way production changes can be made is to put the changes into version control and then recreate the code and environments from scratch. By doing this, no variance is able to creep into production, and this is very important. So modifying our definition of the development. All right, our goal is to ensure development and Q&A are routinely integrating the code with production-like environments. And by having developers write, test, and run their own code in production-like environments, the majority of the work is to successfully integrate our code and the environments happens in our daily work instead of the end of the release. So this also is very important. So in conclusion for this chapter, by allowing developers to use production-like environments, even at the earliest stages of the software project, we significantly reduce the risk of production problems later. And by making production infrastructure easier to rebuild and repair, we make resolving problems easier and faster, as well as making it easier to expand capacity. Just a general explanation. If you're going to go build a home, it's much easier to put it out in some kind of software, build it, make sure you know all the contractor's name and everything's already there, see where issues come up on time frames or cost. That is an example that some people may find helpful with this. But basically, when you're building a product, if you can put it into some kind of controlled environment, put all the information in it, and build it before production, we're able to find the problems quicker, and the effects of those problems won't cause issues later on. We enjoyed doing this presentation. If you have any questions, please let us know. We look forward to doing another chapter next week. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.